Hello everyone, it's been a long time. Since then I've suddenly started looking like a hobo, and probably more amazing, at least for me, is the fact amazing was the wrong word, but anyway, I've moved in to a new place. Um, what does that change? Basically nothing. I don't know, I guess you get to look at some anime posters. I mean, you can hardly even see the... Sorry, it's kind of hard to point at stuff with cameras. You can hardly even see the Berserk one because of that light, but hey, it's new, I guess. I'd like to say that's why it's been ages since the last video. It hasn't. I actually recorded what I'm about to show off in September, but I never uploaded it, and here we are doing good old take 2. So, I've bought no manga, but never fear, because I've got some comics. I was going to buy Blade of the Immortal, because it's had some fantastic omnibus, like hardcover releases, and I will buy it, but I haven't got around to it. When will I buy it? I don't know, Christmas, maybe. We'll see. But I've bought something pretty cool, and I'm going to have to do this really kind of awkward leaning motion every time to show off what exactly I've bought, because I've got all my shelves up here. If I had a good phone camera, I'd be using the phone to just point at the shelf, but alas, my phone camera is really bad, which is why I'm using my £50 Logitech microphone. Anyway, this is what I have been getting. Judge Dredd, the Mega Collection. This is one of the best comic releases ever. Well, that's probably a bit of an exaggeration. I'm not a huge comic guy. I've read some comics. I've read like Killing Joke, which most people have probably if they've got a passing interest in Batman. Some Riddler comics. I've read Daredevil kills the Deadpool kills the Marvel universe. You know, I've read some big ones that everyone's aware of, and I really like Judge Dredd after watching the movie. It's one of my favourite series. It's something I'm really into at the moment. Like how for a long time I was into JoJo. Judge Dredd's the next thing for me, which I'd be making videos on if it wasn't pretty fucking niche. It's not niche necessarily in the UK, but the UK is just one place, and it doesn't represent the entire world, unfortunately. So, what this is a really nice hardcover comic. They collect themes in each one. So, Democracy Now! Is talking about democracy in this universe. It's quite a... I'm trying to think of the word. Authoritarian? I'm not good with that kind of terminology, but basically the police, and you can call it a police state. These judges control everything, control people's freedom, they're very harsh on crime, and this talks about bringing democracy to their world, and it talks about whether or not the judges are right in their approach to dealing with crime, that kind of thing. So each book in this mega collection compiles a collection of comics under a kind of theme. So this is the second one. Also, each one ends up creating a very nice looking spine. There's 90 of them, by the way. And this is where the semi-good news comes in. They're only a tenner each. For something like this, you should normally expect £20, something like that for a comic, easily. But this is only a tenner. And not just that, it's in full colour. Like, not every single comic, because some of these are in here aren't old comics from like the 80s or 70s that weren't in colour in the release, but most of them are. Every comic, like the vast majority, if not all of the strips and all the comics in here, for example, is in colour, and every issue has some part of it in colour at least. The pages feel really nice. The only this is like an example of it in not in colour. The artwork's also pretty stunning. The old style in the 80s I really like, but I can't really show that off quite well. The only problem is some pages, very rarely. I think I've read 4 of these so far, and about 3 pages I've had this thing where the font's kind of like inflated a bit on the page, so it's a bit hard to read. It shouldn't really exist, to be quite honest, but apart from that I've had no problems, and I do not mind that issue for just how good the quality of these are. So the covers are very striking. It's normally got this, well, they all have this white background with the main, centerpiece to show off what the book entails. This kind of colour scheme always, white, black and red. So we've got Democracy Now! I've got a lot of these, by the way. And I only bought these in September. I've not really bought any since, so yeah, I've got no reason not to upload this video. Well, when I got them. So that was Democracy Now! This is Total War, which again talks about democracy, but it's more of it's a very violent part of democracy. This is featuring a major arc involving a terrorist group called Total War that plant a lot of bombs in Mega City 1, which is where the story takes place, or where Judge Dredd takes place for the most part, and they say they're going to blow up the city unless the judges resign, which is quite intense. It follows on from the America... Oh, Jesus! That fell on the floor. It follows on from the America storyline, which I showed off in my last video back in August, something like that, which introduces the Total War group. That was my first Judge Dredd comic, and it was fantastic. I haven't bought issue 1 of these because well, I already own America. And The Dead Man is probably my favourite. I really blitzed through this book. They're all fairly big, by the way. They take me like a couple hours to read. I think this one maybe only took 2.5, but normally they take like 3-4 hours. But I mean, I was going to say I can't spoil it. No one's going to fucking read these, but it's a very gripping book full of build-up for one of the biggest arcs in Judge Dredd. That's the one I just finished, and leading on to that one is Necropolis, which has Judge Dredd against his adversaries. There's Judge Death, there's the sisters, Judge Fear. I don't really know their names because I've not met them yet, but I'm very, very excited to read this, which is one of the biggest arcs in Judge Dredd. What I should say, because they're not, the books aren't sorted by theme, they're not chronological, they're fitted by theme. So this will have a lot of the stories about Necropolis and stories that talk about the ramifications of Necropolis, for example. So it'll have the main arc and other stories related to that arc in here. What this means is you can be reading things out of order. It can be confusing, but it clicks. So there were some stories in book 4 that were happened, say, just after stories from book 2. So they do come out of order, but you get a nice thematic connection with the books, and it's never to a point where you feel like what you're reading is unreadable. So, some others here. One thing that's annoying about collecting them is it's not quite clear how to collect them, because they don't release in, like, you know, issue 7, issue 6, issue 7, issue 8. Oh, that's the wrong way there. They release, like, I don't know, volume 1, book 8, for example, if you get what I mean. So I'm not buying them in the order they come out. I'm buying them in order of shelf number, if that makes sense. I don't think it matters which way you read them, but I think the way I'm collecting them, is the best way. Because, for example, shelf position 8 and shelf position 9, 10, 11 all contain Judge Anderson stories, which isn't how they came out when they released. It's a bit weird, and hopefully you understand what I'm saying. So if you hear noise, I'm living with like 4 people now, which is quite insane. We've got Judge Death Lives, main villain of the series, and we've got Young Death. Really love these covers, I can't express enough. And you probably get the picture, I've got a lot of these. Yeah, and every time I take one out they're falling down. So then we've got Shambhala, which is a really detailed piece of art there. This is one of the most striking ones, and I went to the shops to find it. It really is quite an impressive piece of artwork there. And then I have, this is when I first bought them. They were all like, I was buying them via release order, so I've got like 24 and 55 here, which I won't get around to reading for a long time. I've got Mechanismo. I don't like this one because the artwork's kind of like more cartoony. It doesn't look that nice. Then I've got Mandroid, not Nedroid. As you can see, $9.99. Again, that's got the same kind of cartoony look to it, which I don't like as much. Not a very professional setup, as you can tell. Right. Then we have the Heavy Mob. This is just to show off the artwork, really. Kind of got a Warhammer thing going on here. It's kind of because of the... Well, this is the normal insignia for judges, and this suit just reminds me of something you'd get in Warhammer. Dawn of War? Yeah, Dawn of War is Warhammer, same thing. Origins talks about the origins of Judge Dredd, which I've learned a bit from the other books, but I'm still interested in getting this one. I've heard this is like a good starter book for Judge Dredd, so I could read this now, really, if I wanted to. I could read any of them in any order, to be honest. And then the Apocalypse War. I like this cover quite a bit because he's got a cool looking gun. And yeah, that's that. We've got a new show coming for this channel, and you'll see what that is soon enough. Until then, au revoir.